Hey, DragonCon, Crispy here, and I've got Michael Cerveris with us. Michael, thank you for making it out to DragonCon first year. What's your just first impressions? Go.
Well, I just had the best time, like from the word go. It was a little dizzying and disorienting at first, because I walked into the middle of the maelstrom. But,
Just right off the bat, then.
Yeah, off the plane into the con.
Mm-hmm.
But people tell you what to expect, or tell you different things, and none of it really makes any sense until you actually get here and see what it's all about. And I have been told by just about everybody that, now that I've started at Drag, because this is my first con of any.
Your first con in general. Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
yeah.
Well, this is a hell of a one to start off with.
Yeah, well, that's what everybody says, and
Yeah.
they all also say, it's all downhill from here, really. So.
I work a lot of shows, and I've only ever worked this one, and that's exactly how I feel.
Yeah.
This is such a massive event, and hopefully it hasn't been too overwhelming for you.
No, it's really had a really kind of perfect balance. I mean, the panels were big. I think the last one we just did was like 1,500 people or something. But it somehow felt intimate and informal and casual. It was great too, because I was doing those things with Jessica and Seth, and they've been to a few of these, and they've been around a bit. So and so part of I think it's fun on all kinds of levels for those of us on the guests. It's on the one hand, it's a chance for us to get together with each other, just as a kind of reunion, especially.
You haven't seen each other since the show. It's been what, a year and a half almost.
Yeah. So there's that level, and then connecting with the fans, and I think that's the thing that sets DragonCon apart from what people say, is that it is so huge and involves so many different genres and different kinds of things and a lot of crossover stuff, but it also is a really fan-centric kind of experience, and it's not so much about promotional thing.
I always say it's not the trade show, it's much more of the personal connections.
Yeah.
And since this is not only, your first DragonCon, your first convention in general, do you feel like you were able to, I guess, bond with the fans in a way that you haven't before?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, social media is great, and I've learned a lot about, interacting with fans on Twitter and Facebook and all that kind of thing. And it's great, and you can, get messages from people in Russia who, saw the show.
That's
and
true.
That's really cool. But this has been fantastic to really just engage with people, on a face-to-face basis. And the Walk of Fame tables were, the pace of the lines at our tables was great. We were full and busy all the time, but not so much that we couldn't spend a good 5 minutes, 10 minutes more sometimes talking to people, and and really letting them know how important they were to what we did, especially with our show, because the fans really, I think, have the major hand to play in our getting a fifth season.
The
really.
success, the wrap up there with that finale, which had to have been quite an adventure. I know, especially for you, considering the character that you went through and the evolution. It was quite a journey as a fan to have watched the show and see that personal touch there, the whole father relationship, son, that you had as well. And I just really, really dug that. So I would imagine a lot of fans had that same experience when they were communicating that with you.
Yeah, and with our show too, it seems in particular like it was a show that families watched together, and a remarkable number of young women and their dads watch the show. It's like the one show that they could kind of both relate to, because it has that sci-fi level that it's operating on, but a real character, emotional level that it's operating on too. So it was really kind of great to just connect with people, hear what they had to say, answer whatever questions they had, and also for us to express our thanks and our
just
gratitude.
The general gratitude, right?
Yeah, and it also just reminds you that you don't do any of this stuff in a vacuum. When you're on a set and your head is focused on just getting things right, and that it eventually is going to be assembled and shipped out into the universe. But it's really great to be reminded that the end result of everything that we do, on whatever side of the camera you are on, and whatever part of the business you're on, is the completion of it is in the audience, and is in the fan, and is in the public, and it's great just to remind yourself that it's not just a wall of audience with a capital A. It's like it's a million individual people,
and they're all kind of in a way a part of that experience in the end, which is you know, when you go from, I guess, a theatrical background and you have that much more immediate connection. You see them there, and so now we're seeing, especially with social media, you know, now that you've been here for a convention, television now has that opportunity to still have that effect, I guess, as an actor.
Yeah, which, you know, in our society is in shorter and shorter supply as we get more, you know, separated by, you know, technology and stuff. And so things like this, I think, serve really valuable cultural, you know, purposes to kind of put human beings in a room together and
to still be in that space, that physical connection versus the digital 140 character connection.
Yeah, absolutely. And the funny thing is that the way back to this was through all of that technology that kind of like made all of us be interested in something that would end up with all of us here.
With everyone here. Now, since you mentioned that you had a really busy schedule, though, you literally got off the plane straight to work. I can't imagine you had a lot of downtime, but let's say you had some downtime. You got to be a fan of something. What's your geek? What's your fandom here?
Well, I mean, I'm from my youngest days. I started out as a real horror fan, you know, and it was like old school Universal black and white, you know, horror movies that were my first things. And but I've also been a sci-fi fan for you know, as I've grown up, and you know, Star Trek and Star Wars, and I was a big X-Files fan, which was why being on Fringe was like, you know, my chance to kind of be on the X-Files.
Yeah, you had that same kind of vibe initially.
Yeah, but it was really fun walking around and seeing, you know, people that I grew up, you know, admiring and being a fan of. Ed Asner and
that's right. I think, you know, Mitch was here from X-Files as well.
Yeah,
I think he was actually right around the corner from you.
Yes,
so.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah,
and I was so excited to see Lou Ferrigno, who I just always really admired him. You know, he was one of the first. I think he was probably one of the first hearing impaired people that I'd ever seen like be a movie star.
Focal, right.
Yeah, and I remember being so impressed by, you know, what that must have been for him to, you know, to do that. So that was really cool to see him, and you know, just all kinds of people. So I was walking around being a fan,
just kind of being that fan,
and being a fan of the incredible costumes and stuff, and the incredible, you know, craft work and artistry of the people who, you know, do this just
for
to
the
walk
fun
around and do it.
So let's say you come back, as you should.
Yeah, and I hope to.
And we really hope you do. Do you think you ever consider you would cosplay and, you know, do that the floor walk?
You know, it's funny because I spent a lot of time in New Orleans, and for my first Mardi Gras down there, I thought, because I dress up for a living, I've never been like a big fan of Halloween dressing up and stuff, because like I do that all the time.
I do it for money. It's my day off.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. So I thought that I was going to do that in New Orleans. It was like, I don't want to dress up and everything. But then when you're there and you realize you're going to feel stranger not dressing up.
You would be the oddball in the
oddball.
Regular plain clothes.
And you'd miss out on a lot of the experience. And I had that feeling here a lot of times. I just felt like I was walking around just being so boring, just like kind of just being me. So I saw a photo of Bryan Cranston from some con that he went to recently, where he wore
his own
a
face.
big mask of himself,
right.
which I thought was just brilliant and so, you know, metaphysical. And
would you then take that to the next level? I mean, would you cosplay your character?
I was thinking, though, it would be like I would want to go as Olivia, or I would want to go as Astrid.
Mix it up a bit,
Exactly.
just to get the crazy hair that Jessica has, and just roll with it.
Yeah. Well, we were all talking. We said, we should all dress as each other, and that would be really fun.
I think I would pay money to see that. So
next year, DragonCon 2014.
Let's make it happen. Well, Michael, thank you so much for your time, and I'm really stoked that you had a fantastic first year, and I hope this is the first of many, because I know you guys have such a fandom, and you being a fan really can appreciate what it is that we have to offer. So
absolutely.
Thank you so much for your time.